Marriage is one of the major themes in Pride and Prejudice, and obviously so important to Austen and her characters. But what is Austen ultimately showing us through the different marriages that she presents? Is she trying to kick down society's barriers through the character of Lizzie to say that society's ideas of marriage are ridiculous? Or is perhaps her ultimate message a more complex idea about changing but never escaping those rules? Readers are positioned to understand the values placed upon marriage by Austen herself, Mrs. Bennet and Lady Catherine, who in their own different ways present the ideas that marriage is the ultimate goal for a woman, that marriage should be predominantly a monetary agreement, and that happiness and love are not a concern. While readers can see that these are society's rules, Austen uses Lizzie to satirise and make fun of these two characters. Lady Catherine and Mrs. Bennet are scorned by Lizzie and the narrative voice for only looking at marriage as a type of business. Furthermore, through Lizzie's words and the way that she skirts the conventions of marrying for status as set out by society, we can understand that Austen's message is deeper and more complex than what society has set out as the rules. Let us consider the marriages in the novel and what they represent. Mr. and Mrs. Bennet present a marriage of regret. Mr. Bennet explains that when he was courting Mrs. Bennet, her beauty blinded him to her silliness. He now uses his feather-brained wife as a source of amusement, takes refuge in the library, neglecting family affairs. Even Elizabeth, his favourite, admits that his lack of respect for his marriage partner is a serious fault in a husband. So, what is the purpose of this marriage? Well, it clearly positions us to see that marrying only for lust is not the answer. There was no consideration in Mr. Bennet's thoughts except for her beauty. He didn't think about Mrs. Bennet's character, nor consider her wealth or status, which has affected him and shows himself and his way of marrying as disadvantaged and punished. The next marriage presented to audiences is that of Charlotte and Mr. Collins, one that many readers find uncomfortable and that Austen presents as slightly ludicrous. It is a marriage of financial security and mutual benefits, rather than of happiness. Charlotte, a plain girl, eldest of a large family of modest means, can only hope for a marriage that will bring her financial security. Collins enters the marriage as a way to please Lady Catherine so that he can raise his social status. Here we can see that Austen shows us a marriage that seemingly fits perfectly into society's rules and conventions. Neither character can say that they are happy, but they fit into the rules and they make it work. Collins and Charlotte become a part of society's rules and invariably will not be able to escape it for the rest of their lives. But Charlotte finds it in herself to make this work, and Collins, so obsessed with society, thinks he has made his greatest achievement. The only hint of resentment comes from Lizzie, who disagrees with the idea. So, while we can see that they are both ultimately constrained by society's ideas of their place, we must ask, are they really punished by society, or is it just Austen? The next marriage that we see is an unusual one, as it steps outside the bounds of society's rules and Lizzie's ideas to present us with another opinion on marriage. This is, of course, the elopement between Lydia and Wickham. It is a marriage of mutual advantages. For Lydia, it is a necessity to restore respectability in society and her family's eyes, though she believes she is wholly in love. For Wickham, it is a way to moderate wealth. However, both soon lose all pretense of affection and deteriorate into the shallow relationship expected of such irresponsible characters. This forces readers to see that being blinded by either love or wealth is not a good or privileged idea, and hints at the fact that there must be balance. This balance is what we see in the penultimate marriages of the novel, which are those between Jane and Bingley, who marry based on mutual affections and similar temperaments, and Lizzie and Darcy, who marry based on mutual love and understanding. The consideration of each other's wealth and social status in these marriages, though, cannot be ignored, as it is brought up multiple times throughout the novel. Jane is obviously aware of Bingley's fortune before marrying him. She is also shunned by Darcy and at times the Bingley sisters for her lack of social status, which they believe does not match that of Bingley. It can be seen then that Austen is telling us that while these need to be considered and tested in the relationship, they can sometimes be overcome. Lizzie, as well, is not so silly that she doesn't understand how society works, and that while she wants to marry for love, she must consider how suitable the match is. Darcy, in his first proposal, even pointedly reminds her that he is above her station, and that for him the match isn't necessarily suitable. She, in falling in love with Darcy, also considers not just her affection, but the match. When confronted with Lady Catherine, she defends her social status, saying, "He is a gentleman, I am a gentleman's daughter," which shows readers that this is something that she and society have to consider. Her reaction to Pemberley also demonstrates her understanding that it is not wise to marry without considering property. This becomes clear when Elizabeth wonders how nice it is to be the hostess of such a grand estate as Pemberley. Obviously, for Lizzie, love is of the highest importance, but she is no fool, and as she is our heroine in this novel, Austen's message is clear. It is wrong to marry for property and social status alone, but it is not wise to marry without considering property. There are some within this society who clearly fit in and manipulate the conventions to get what they want, while there are others who are so constrained and manipulated by the idea of marriage that it absorbs them and prevents them from acting in any other way. Finally, there are characters who skirt the rules of whom should be married and why, but eventually do marry anyway. Austen's message about marriage is complex and multifaceted, as characters are rewarded and punished in different ways based on their reasons for entering a marriage. The ultimate message, though, seems to be that when you do marry, as you must, that it should be with careful consideration of status, love, and society.